We know Dom can do pretty much anything by the power of family, but the creators of Fast and the Furious need a bit more help from special effects to achieve the incredible scenes we see on screen. This is Fast and Furious without CGI, what it really looks like behind the scenes. Warning, mild spoilers ahead. Cypher fight scenes. Cypher's probably the worst bad guy in the entire franchise. Who takes a baby hostage to get the father to do your bidding? That is a new low, but we can't deny that Cypher is pretty impressive too. She's super smart and is an incredible fighter. The fight scenes where Cypher is doing hand-to-hand fights are pretty awesome to watch, but you might be surprised that what you're seeing isn't what it seems to be. Charlize Theron plays the terrible baddie with a lot of charm, even when you know she is super evil. But none of the fight scenes that Cypher did was actually Charlize Theron. Instead, they had a stunt double do all the fight scenes instead. They used a professional martial arts fighter to do all her work, and later on they had used CGI to make it look like it was Charlize that did these stunts. It was done really well, and we'd never see the change on screen. Brian and Dom racing. Some of the most iconic scenes from the Fast franchise ever were the different races between Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor. It was where the entire franchise all began. Dom and Paul racing down the street, but how could they film these incredible scenes? It'd surely be too dangerous for the actors to race against each other at top speeds while the crew films everything. And even if they used stunt doubles for the scenes, it would have been incredibly hard filming both cars at the same time, and not having a camera shake while filming in the moving vehicle. So they made sure to get every second without shaking by doing the entire sequence of the race in a stationary spot in the green room. They used a rig that could move like a car with Paul Walker and Vin Diesel taking turns to race in this car-like contraption. Then they could add most of the race in post-production. In reality, if you see behind the scenes for that super iconic and incredible scene, you'd be really disappointed. It was just one of the actors in a box-like rig in front of a green screen. Not a lot of magic to the real thing, but it was pretty incredible how real they made it look afterwards. Nitro speed. Another iconic part of the movies has to be when they use nitro speed to get that rush of speed and to help them win the race or get away from the bad guys. We all know the scenes. They're driving and almost losing, then they pop open a small button and they use the nitro. The character is blasted back into their seat and they have massive power. And again, they used a green screen to achieve the expected results. They filmed the scene in a car rig with a front window so they can film the actor doing this thing and get the shot, then film the background afterwards. Fast 5 and the bank vault. But not everything that you see in Fast and the Furious movies has all been done with CGI. They do create some pretty crazy scenes through real stunts too. Actually, a lot of what they do is done with stunts and special gear to create these incredible moments and scenes. Some of the biggest scenes in the series were all done in real life. Remember that massive climactic moment in Fast 5 with a race around the streets in Rio de Janeiro? A bunch of cars are towing a massive bank vault in a high-speed chase and also using it like a weapon at times. They actually had someone do that in real life. Pretty cool, right? There's loads of moments like that where they use parts of reality and part of CGI to give us the action we've come to expect. Obviously, they weren't racing through busy streets, that wouldn't be safe, but they did what they could realistically, then they added the rest later on. F9 car flipping. During the last Fast and the Furious movies, they tried to use as many real cars and stunts as they possibly could. One of these incredible shots was shared by director Justin Lin on his social media pages. In it, Letty activates an electromagnetic thing that pulls a car to send it flying sideways through buildings. This scene was done with track sets and real cars. To get the scene just right, they had to destroy 3 cars while shooting the scene. It took an entire 8 months for the scene to be prepped for them to get ready to shoot it. Hundreds of people were involved with filming the sequence. They'll film everything and then they add extras afterwards with CGI. Like adding an extra debris and adding carnage and things exploding. So combining real shots with CGI as added interest is a pretty solid way of really making something special. This was all for around 4 seconds in the entire movie. They sure do put in a lot of effort in these movies. Brian O'Connor without Paul Walker. This is probably the most famous use of CGI in the Fast and Furious when they had to finish Furious 7 without one of the show's biggest stars, Paul Walker. He was one of the heart and souls of the movie franchise, so losing Paul was always going to be a major impact in the franchise. He tragically lost his life in a car accident. It was a shock for everyone involved in the movie since they were all really close to Paul. At the time, they were mostly done with filming all the scenes with Brian in the movie, but they wanted to honor Paul and give him a proper exit out of the movies. They also needed to explain why Brian wouldn't appear in any more movies. There had to be a good reason for Brian to stay away. We all know the character would always be there when Dominic needed him, plus they loved Paul and wanted to reflect that. The production was stopped for a while to allow everyone time to get over the shock and to allow the writers to come up with a really good plan. Then after talking to the Walker family, they brought in Paul's two brothers, Caleb and Cody, to finish the movie and the new ending in honor of Paul. There were a number of short moments that they used his brothers combined with CGI to make it completely look like Paul doing the sequences. They had a few moments that they had to be completed and finished off, like a small moment during one car chase, being thrown from a car and putting his son in the back seat of a van, little moments like that. And the entire new finale sequence of the movie that left fans ugly crying. Dom and the family are on the beach watching Brian and Mia with their son enjoying the waves. Pretty obvious that everyone was emotional filming that scene. Then Dom decides to leave without saying goodbye. But Brian follows him and they drive next to each other until the road splits, sending them in different directions. Gave the character a really stunning ending, and I love that they didn't kill him off the series. Rather, they gave him his happily ever after with Mia. But CGI might take it even further in the future. Seems like only 2 more films are planned, and Justin Lin has talked about using the same technology to bring Brian back. I have mixed feelings about this. It could be a really great idea, and also be a bit of a disaster. Maybe even weird. I can't imagine the movies coming to an ending without a finale reunion with the entire family, which Brian and Mia are an important part of, but it'll have to depend on how Paul Walker's family, and especially his daughter, feels about the possibility. If they're comfortable with it, then it'll be great. But if they aren't, then I really hope they drop the entire thing. But since Vin Diesel is still really close with Paul's family, I'm sure they'll be really respectful in that regard. The snow scene in Fast and Furious 8. Many of the scenes where Dom's driving in the snow were filmed on set in Iceland, but surprisingly, the biggest majority of these scenes were actually filmed in a studio. The massive studio has a blue screen perfect for snowy scenes, so many of those scenes that would have been too dangerous to film in actual snow were shot in the studio. The massive studio was almost turned into a set complete with Dom's car and the snow, then they could add in the details later through CGI. Shooting from a moving truck. The movies always have a lot of shooting scenes, and some of them seem to be done while the bad guys are on a moving truck, shooting at the crew who are also moving. But obviously, that would be really hard and really dangerous to do. In reality, the actor is at the back of a moving rig that looks like the back of the truck. Seeing as it can move, it looks like he's bumping around a moving vehicle. Plus, there was a fan to blow air and give the feeling of being in motion too. They filmed it all in the front of the green screen, so later on they could add in all of the cityscapes and have the scene look really realistic. Jumping into a moving vehicle. Dwayne Johnson's Hobbs is pretty powerful, and he's some really awesome action scenes, like scenes where he jumped high and into a moving vehicle. That was done with a cable in front of the green screen. The cable helped him jump really high and come down at the right spot. Then the rest was all added later. Fast and Furious has some incredible action scenes, and by using the combination of real stunts and CGI, they're able to do something really special. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.